Most people will never escape poverty, not because they lack talent, but because they cling to weakness disguised as virtue. If you wish to build wealth that endures, you must abandon softness, abandon excuses, and adopt the ruthless habits of power. In this lesson, Niccolò Machiavelli, will show you the 7 cold, uncompromising money habits that separate the powerful from the powerless. He who cannot control the flow of his money becomes a servant, not a master. Listen closely, for this is the first law of lasting wealth, and it is the foundation upon which every empire of fortune is built. If you cannot govern your own gold, then you will forever be governed by others. Most men allow their wealth to slip through their fingers like water. They earn, they spend, and they repeat, like beasts caught in an endless cycle, believing they are moving forward when in truth they are chained to their own desires. They let merchants dictate how much they part with, they let luxuries seduce them, and they let vanity empty their purses. Such men may earn for a lifetime, yet they remain poor. Why? Because they do not control the flow of their gold. Their wealth leaks away through every crack, and when fortune tests them, they are left exposed, weak, and desperate. Now understand, this money is power in its purest form. But uncontrolled money is like an army without a commander. Soldiers without direction will scatter, riot, or be captured by the enemy. So it is with your wealth. If you do not lead it with authority, it will abandon you, and you will find yourself begging for mercy from lenders, rulers, or even your own family. To command wealth, you must think like a general who leads an army, positioning every coin with precision, giving each piece of gold a duty to perform. Let me tell you a truth that most men are too blind to accept. Every coin that leaves your hand without strategy weakens you. When you waste money on trifles, when you chase pleasures that fade in an instant, you are not merely losing coins. You are bleeding your future strength. A man who spends recklessly buys weakness, disguised as comfort. He exchanges command for chains, and once the purse is empty, his pride will follow. Look at the wealthy rulers of history. None became powerful by giving in to every desire. They built fortunes by refusing to waste. Even the Medici, those masters of Florence, began not by splurging on gold palaces, but by carefully managing every transaction, calculating every loan, ensuring that no coin left their hands without serving their dominion. Their family rose to power not through generosity of spending, but through ruthless mastery of money's movement. Control begins with awareness. The common man walks through the market, dazzled by trinkets, silks, or foods he does not need. He hands over his coins to merchants who smile, knowing they have conquered another fool. The wealthy man, however, sees beyond the glitter. He asks, what does this expense return to me? Does this purchase multiply my power or diminish it? If it multiplies, he considers it. If it diminishes, he refuses, even if his desire tempts him. Many will tell you that money is meant to be enjoyed. Do not listen to them. This is the whisper of weakness. Wealth is not for fleeting indulgence. It is for power, security, and influence. Yes, pleasures can be taken, but only when they are controlled, and only when they do not threaten the greater mission of building lasting strength. Think of gold not as decoration, but as a weapon. You would not hand your sword to an enemy. Then why hand your gold to merchants and charlatans who profit from your lack of discipline? A ruler does not spend like a peasant, even if he possesses the purse of a king. He understands that wealth has tides. Fortune rises and falls, markets flourish and collapse, wars erupt, and peace is shattered. The man who spends thoughtlessly in times of plenty finds himself ruined in times of famine. But the man who governs his money with iron discipline in prosperity ensures survival when famine strikes. To control the flow of gold, you must first cut away all excess. Stop the leaks, for every unnecessary coin spent is a breach in your fortress. Ruthless wealth builders examine their expenses with suspicion. They eliminate what does not serve their rise. They cut down luxuries that enslave rather than empower. They strip their lives to essentials, not out of poverty, but out of strategy. In this discipline lies freedom, for he who reduces waste creates abundance, where others suffer scarcity. But mastery does not end with cutting costs. Controlling money is not mere saving, it is command. It is directing your wealth toward deliberate growth. Each coin not spent must be given a task, to be saved, invested, or deployed where it breeds more wealth. Money without a mission is money waiting to be stolen. When every coin is guarded and directed, you no longer work for money, your money works for you. This is the difference between the common laborer and the true ruler of fortune. The greatest trap of men is the illusion of wealth. They measure their riches by the shine of their possessions, their fine clothes, their feasts, their carriages, or in today's age, their flashing devices and needless luxuries. They mistake appearance for substance. But appearances deceive, and when the mask is stripped away, such men stand naked, exposed as hollow pretenders. Real wealth is not in the display of spending, but in the command of resources hidden from the world, ready to strike when opportunity arises. Therefore, never fall into the trap of believing that because your purse is full today, you are secure. Money is loyal only to the disciplined. It abandons the weak and serves the strong. If you cannot control the flow of your gold, your wealth is already lost. You simply have not yet realized it. Idle money is a wasted army. The wealthy do not let coins rot in a chest. They deploy them. A man who simply saves his gold without purpose is no different from a ruler who keeps his soldiers locked in barracks while his enemies march freely across the land. Gold, like men, must serve. It must fight. It must return from battle carrying spoils greater than when it left. To hoard money without deploying it is to weaken yourself. It is to admire wealth as a statue. Beautiful, but lifeless. Consider the peasant who saves a few coins under his mattress. He guards them fiercely, convinced that his little treasure makes him secure. But what happens as the years pass? The coins remain the same, while the world around him changes. Prices rise, opportunities appear and vanish, and his gold, untouched, loses its power. In his obsession with keeping his coins safe, he has allowed them to decay in strength. That is not saving. That is slow suicide. The great builders of empires understood this truth. Gold that does not multiply is dead. The Medici, the Fuggers, the great merchant families of Italy and beyond, none grew powerful by hiding their money. They turned it outward. They invested in ships, in trade, in banks, in rulers themselves. They lent money to kings at war, demanding not only repayment but influence. They gave their wealth a mission. Each coin became a soldier, marching into the world to return with prisoners, spoils, and captives that would strengthen their dominion. So too must you treat your money. Every coin you keep must be seen not as a trophy, but as a soldier waiting for orders. Ask yourself, where can I send this soldier to bring me back an army? Perhaps it goes into an investment that grows over time. Perhaps into property that yields rent while rising in value. Perhaps into a trade or enterprise that multiplies itself through the labor of others. What matters is that no coin lies idle. Idle coins are traitors. They sleep while the world conspires against you. Understand, this money breeds power only when it is active. Gold locked away does not defend you. It cannot protect you against inflation, against opportunity lost, against the ambitions of others who are willing to deploy theirs ruthlessly. The man who leaves his coins idle will wake one day to discover that the market, the merchants, and even his own desires have stolen from him. But the man who turns savings into soldiers will find his wealth multiplying silently, like roots beneath the earth growing stronger each season. The discipline of saving is not enough. Saving without strategy is weakness disguised as prudence. It creates the illusion of safety, but safety is fleeting. The ruthless separate themselves from the timid by going further, by commanding their money to work, to fight, to conquer. Do not merely guard your savings, arm them. Send them into the world with purpose. and demand their return with interest, profit, and power. But do not mistake blind risk for strategy. A commander does not send his army into battle without calculating terrain, numbers, and the enemy's strength. Likewise, you must not hurl your savings into ventures you do not understand. Recklessness is as deadly as idleness. The art lies in judgment, knowing when to risk, when to hold, and when to strike with precision. The fool gambles and loses his fortune in one reckless move. The wise ruler of wealth calculates, invests, and steadily multiplies his strength. Think of your gold as soldiers divided into ranks. Some are scouts, sent into small investments to test the ground. Some are infantry, steady and reliable, producing consistent returns through secure ventures. And some are elite guards, stationed in safe havens to protect your reserves. Together, they form an army of money, working, fighting, and returning with spoils. This is how the wealthy expand their dominion, not by hoarding coins, but by commanding them as generals command troops. And remember this: when your money works, you no longer need to. A poor man labors with his body, trading hours for coins that vanish quickly. A rich man sets his money to labor. His wealth works while he sleeps, grows while he plans, and fights battles in markets, trades, and enterprises while he enjoys the fruits of command. To reach this level is to break free from dependence. It is to become a ruler of wealth, not a servant to wages. Fortune itself favors those who deploy their gold. Opportunities reveal themselves to the man who has soldiers already in the field. He hears whispers of ventures before others, for the world recognizes him as a player, not an observer. The idle saver, clutching his coins in secret, is invisible. He is ignored, irrelevant. But the one who invests, who lends, who participates in the flow of commerce, he is invited to the table of power. There is no lasting wealth without deployment. To hoard is to stagnate. To stagnate is to decay. The wealthy understand that their fortune is not a relic to be preserved, but an army to be grown, trained, and unleashed. Each coin must be a soldier, and each soldier must bring back more than he was given. Only then does wealth cease to be fragile and become enduring, unshakable, and commanding. The timid avoid risk and remain poor. The ruthless seize opportunities when others tremble. If you wish to rise above mediocrity, you must first understand this cruel truth: most men are ruled not by reason but by fear. They hesitate, they doubt, they wait for safety that never comes. And in their hesitation, they leave the door wide open for the ruthless to walk through. Wealth does not belong to the cautious. It belongs to those willing to strike when others retreat. Consider the nature of opportunity. It rarely arrives dressed in certainty and comfort. More often, it appears cloaked in danger, in chaos, in uncertainty. It comes disguised as risk, as something unstable, something that frightens the common man into inaction. Yet, this very disguise is what protects opportunity from the masses. If it looked safe, everyone would take it, and the rewards would vanish. True fortune always hides in the shadows of fear. The weak man, confronted with uncertainty, chooses retreat. He convinces himself he is being wise, when in reality, he is paralyzed. He sees crisis and flees. He sees change and panics. He hears whispers of collapse and clings desperately to what little he already has. And in that moment, when he protects his crumbs, the ruthless step in and claim the feast. Look at history. During plagues, wars, and financial collapses, most men cried out for safety. They sold their lands, their goods, their properties for fractions of their worth, desperate to escape ruin. But the few, the calculating few, bought while others sold, built while others abandoned, advanced while others cowered, and when the storm cleared, they emerged as lords of a new order. This is the Machiavellian way, to exploit opportunities others fear, for fear blinds men to the treasures hidden within chaos. Think of the merchant who sees a market crash. The fearful man pulls his coins away, burying them in the earth, certain the end is near. But the ruthless man smiles. He knows that in collapse lies rebirth. He buys when prices are broken, When others are fleeing, and when the dust settles, his fortune multiplies. The masses call it luck. It is not luck. It is the art of seizing what fear has left unguarded. Fear is the greatest tax the weak impose upon themselves. It makes them surrender opportunity before the battle even begins. But if you are to build lasting wealth, you must train yourself to see differently. Where others see danger, you must search for openings. Where others hear ruin, you must listen for the whispers of power. Fear is nothing more than a curtain. Behind it lies the throne. The one who dares to push through seizes the crown. But let us be clear, exploiting fear is not reckless gambling. The fool jumps blindly into danger and loses everything. The Machiavellian calculates. He studies the battlefield. He sees where panic blinds men to truth, where exaggeration drowns out reason, and then he strikes with precision. He does not wait for certainty. He waits for the moment when fear has driven away the competition, leaving him alone at the gate of fortune. When others hesitate, time becomes your ally. The world belongs to those who move quickly, while the timid remain frozen. Opportunities are perishable. They vanish as swiftly as they appear. The cautious man spends weeks debating, calculating, postponing. By the time he acts, the spoils are gone, claimed by those who did not hesitate. Hesitation is the luxury of the poor. Decisiveness is the weapon of the rich. Understand this as well. Fortune favors boldness, not because the world is fair, but because boldness frightens rivals into surrender. Most men will not stand against someone willing to act decisively while others quiver. Boldness itself creates opportunities, bending the world to your command. When you act where others fear, you not only seize wealth, you establish yourself as one to be feared, one who thrives where others collapse. This principle is not confined to markets or trade. It applies to every domain of wealth and power. In negotiations, the fearful man hesitates to demand what he deserves, and so he is exploited. The ruthless man demands boldly, unsettling his rivals, forcing them to concede. In business, the fearful man avoids expansion during uncertain times. The ruthless man advances while competitors retreat, carving out territory that will belong to him alone. In every sphere, fear paralyzes the many and enriches the few. Train yourself, therefore, to see fear not as a warning, but as a signal. When men panic, ask yourself, what are they overlooking? What treasure lies abandoned in their rush to escape? When the crowd retreats, turn your eyes forward. For the battlefield has just been cleared for your advance. Fear creates scarcity of courage, and scarcity of courage creates abundance of opportunity for those who dare. The path to lasting wealth is paved not with safety, but with calculated boldness. To wait for certainty is to wait forever. To demand comfort before action is to die in mediocrity. If you wish to command fortune, you must not only accept fear, you must exploit it, for fear is the ally of the ruthless and the prison of the weak. Pity, guilt, or sentiment destroy fortunes. The wise ruler of wealth is cold. If you wish to command wealth, you must first sever your heart from it. Most men fail not because they cannot earn, but because they cannot detach. Their money is chained to their emotions, chained to pity, to guilt, to vanity, to every fragile impulse that weakens the mind. Gold is loyal only to those who treat it with cold authority. The moment you allow your feelings to dictate your decisions, your wealth ceases to serve you and begins to serve others. Observe how the average man spends. He buys to impress, to soothe his insecurities, to feel important. He purchases not out of necessity, but out of weakness, seeking validation through objects. His gold becomes a mirror for his vanity, and in feeding his vanity, he empties his purse. Then, when hardship comes, he discovers that appearances cannot be sold, pride cannot pay debts, and his so-called wealth dissolves into air. The wealthy man, the ruthless man, thinks differently. He does not spend to feel, he spends to strengthen. He invests not because it excites him, but because it multiplies him. He lends not from pity, but from calculation. To him, gold is not an ornament, nor a symbol of affection. It is a weapon, a shield, and a servant. He rules it without hesitation, without sentiment, without apology. You must understand that wealth is corrupted most easily through the heart. Family will ask, friends will beg, lovers will plead. They will drape their words in affection, in tears, in promises. They will say, "Help me just this once." And in that moment, if you let your emotions rule, you hand over not just your money but your power. For money given without calculation is money lost forever, and worse, it breeds dependence. What begins as one favor becomes 2, then 10, until your fortune is drained not by enemies but by those you once called dear. Do not misunderstand. Generosity has its place, but only when it serves a greater purpose. The ruler of wealth may give, but his giving is strategic. He lends to gain influence. He supports to bind loyalty. He appears merciful only when mercy strengthens his position. This is not compassion. It is calculation wearing the mask of compassion. For true compassion in wealth is poison. It destroys fortunes and enslaves men to the demands of others. Even beyond family and friends, emotion corrupts the dealings of money. The market rises and men are greedy. The market falls and men are fearful. Their decisions are ruled by excitement or terror. They buy because others buy. They sell because others panic. In truth, they are not investors. They are gamblers moved by emotion. And gamblers lose. The ruthless investor, however, does not feel. He calculates. He buys when value exists, even if others flee. He sells when profits peak, even if others still chase. He does not weep when the crowd panics, nor does he cheer when the crowd celebrates. He is steady, cold, and therefore victorious. Ask yourself this: how many fortunes are lost because a man tied his gold to pride? He buys a house too large, a carriage too fine, a feast too extravagant, all to prove his worth. Yet in proving it, he loses it. How many fortunes are drained because a man tied his gold to guilt? He gives to those who squander. He sacrifices for those who never repay, and he convinces himself it makes him noble. But nobility cannot defend him when the purse is empty. You must treat money as a king treats his soldiers. They are not friends, not family, not children. They are instruments of war. You direct them without hesitation. If a soldier fails, you replace him. If an investment fails, you cut it off. You do not mourn, you move on. The heart is for personal life. Wealth belongs to strategy. The most dangerous lie whispered to men is that money and morality are bound. They are not. Money does not care about virtue. It does not care if you are kind, or noble, or charitable. It obeys only discipline, control, and logic. If you wish to build lasting wealth, you must abandon the illusion that being good with money means being generous or emotional. Being good with money means being ruthless with money. Detach yourself. When you spend, spend with precision, not impulse. When you give, give with strategy, not guilt. When you invest, invest with calculation, not excitement. If your heart bleeds into your decisions, you have already surrendered. The world will sense your weakness, and it will exploit you without mercy. The market will strip you bare, merchants will feed on your vanity, and even your own family will drain you dry if you allow them. Wealth belongs to the cold. It bends only to the will of those who separate feeling from fortune. The moment you master this detachment, you will find yourself in command of something far greater than riches. You will hold in your hand the very power that others waste through sentiment. Never reveal the depth of your wealth to others. Flaunt enough to inspire respect, but conceal enough to protect yourself from envy and predators. Wealth is not only a matter of numbers in your coffers. It is also a matter of perception. Power is never just about what you truly possess. It is about what others believe you possess. If you are careless with appearances, you make yourself a target, either of envy or of contempt. Too much display invites predators, too little display invites disrespect. To master wealth, you must master its appearance. Consider how men judge one another. They do not look into your accounts, they cannot see your hidden reserves, and they do not know the size of your investments. They judge only what is visible: the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you spend or refrain from spending. Appear too poor and they dismiss you as irrelevant. Appear too rich and they scheme to strip you bare. Appear balanced, commanding but not boastful, and you will hold them in your hand. The wealthy man understands this delicate theater. He shows enough to inspire admiration, to command respect, to establish authority. Yet behind the curtain, he conceals the full extent of his fortune. His rivals may believe they know his worth, but what they see is only a fraction of the truth. His hidden wealth becomes his shield, a secret arsenal ready to be deployed when the time is right. History is filled with men destroyed not by poverty, but by visibility. The moment a ruler displays wealth too brazenly, enemies multiply. Courtiers demand favors, relatives grow envious, thieves sharpen their knives. What was once a fortune becomes a burden because the man failed to cloak it with discretion. On the other hand, those who appear poor are dismissed, underestimated, and excluded from circles of influence. The art, therefore, lies in balance, showing enough to command, hiding enough to survive. This art extends to every transaction. In negotiation, revealing your true wealth weakens you. If others believe your resources are endless, they will demand more, bleed you dry, and call it fair. But if they think you are modest in means, they may pity you, offer less, or deny you entry into certain alliances. The wise man never speaks of his true capacity. He allows others to believe what serves him best, shifting his appearance as a chameleon shifts its color, always to his advantage. Appearances also manipulate respect. Men follow those who seem prosperous, even if their actual fortune is modest. They are drawn to the scent of success, just as moths are drawn to flame. A man who appears confident, composed, and financially secure will attract allies, opportunities, and admiration. This is the paradox. Wealth attracts wealth, not always because of its reality, but because of its image. Men would rather associate with the illusion of prosperity than the reality of poverty. Use this weakness of perception to your advantage, yet never forget the opposite is also true. Flaunt too much and you invite ruin. When others envy you, they will seek to bring you down, whether through laws, taxes, or treachery. They will whisper against you, form alliances to strip you of your position, or target you directly. Wealth without concealment is bait for vultures. To survive, you must always hide more than you reveal. Even in personal life, this law holds true. A man who boasts of his riches finds his circle filled not with loyal friends, but with parasites, flatterers, and opportunists. They gather around him not for who he is, but for what they can take. The moment his fortunes shift, they vanish like smoke. Contrast this with the man who conceals his true wealth. His friends are tested, his alliances more genuine, because they are not blinded by the lure of visible gold. To master the art of appearances, you must live as if playing two roles, the one the world sees, and the one hidden from all but yourself. The visible role is crafted carefully. You present strength, stability, a touch of refinement, enough to command respect and invite opportunity. The hidden role, however, is your true dominion, secret reserves, investments no one suspects, resources known only to you. This hidden wealth is your insurance, your fortress against envy and betrayal. The powerful man does not fear appearing modest when it serves him. Sometimes restraint inspires greater respect than extravagance. Simplicity can be a mask that conceals abundance. The ruler who dines on bread while owning kingdoms is far stronger than the merchant who feasts on gold while owning nothing. For the former controls both perception and reality, while the latter is enslaved by appearances he cannot sustain. The weak reveal too much. They seek validation through visible displays, desperate to prove themselves to others. In doing so, they expose themselves, turning their wealth into a weapon that others use against them. The strong reveal only what they choose, controlling the narrative, shaping perception, and using appearance as a tool rather than a vulnerability. Understand this: above all, money alone does not grant power. It is how money is perceived, displayed, and concealed that determines its true strength. To master appearances is to master the battlefield of perception, where envy and respect wage constant war. He who plays this game with skill holds both fortune and reputation in his grasp, unassailable by rivals who see only what he allows them to see. A man may possess riches beyond measure, gold overflowing from his vaults. Yet if he fails to master the art of appearances, he is but a beggar dressed in silk. Wealth, my listener, is not merely the possession of money. It is the perception of power that money brings. Men judge not by what they cannot see, but by what lies before their eyes. Therefore, to build lasting wealth, one must not only command his finances, but also command the image that wealth projects into the world. Consider this truth: men are deceived not by reality, but by the shadow of reality. Few know the truth of your affairs, most only observe the mask you wear. A prince who appears generous, even if he is calculating, will be praised. A merchant who appears successful, even if his coffers are stretched thin, will find others eager to invest in his ventures. And a man who appears disciplined and unshakable, even when storms threaten his fortune, will command respect that brings opportunities to his feet. In the matter of wealth, appearances multiply results. Think of the banquet table where merchants gather. If you arrive poorly dressed, though your purse be filled with gold, you will be treated as a man of no account. But if you stride in with elegance, confidence, and the aura of prosperity, even if your coin is modest, others will perceive you as a figure of importance. From this perception, alliances are born, credit is extended, and doors open that would otherwise remain closed. Wealth creates wealth, but appearances create the pathways through which that wealth flows. Yet beware: to master appearances does not mean to indulge in vanity. A fool spends lavishly on luxuries to display what he does not possess. This is the path to ruin. The art of appearances is subtler, more cunning. It is knowing when to wear finery and when to dress with restraint. It is understanding that reputation, not extravagance, is the true ornament of wealth. A man who commands respect with his composure, his words, and his calculated display of power will be regarded as wealthy even when he spends little. Observe how the rulers of old managed their image. They surrounded themselves with symbols of strength, wisdom, and prosperity. A prince need not be virtuous, but he must appear virtuous. A man of wealth need not always be generous, but he must appear to wield his resources wisely. This is the principle that sustains influence, because men believe more in what they see than in what they know. Thus, to control appearances is to control belief, and to control belief is to control the opportunities that birth greater fortunes. Think of your daily dealings. How do you present yourself in negotiations? Do you allow others to sense desperation, the hunger for agreement that reveals weakness? Or do you cloak yourself in patience, as if you can afford to wait, as if your resources are abundant? A man who appears in need will always be exploited, no matter how much gold lies in his chest. But a man who projects power, even if his means are stretched, will dictate the terms of every agreement. The art of appearances extends beyond the marketplace. It enters your household, your friendships, and the eyes of strangers. If your household believes you strong and stable, they will act with confidence and loyalty. If your allies believe you resourceful, they will commit themselves to your ventures. If strangers believe you prosperous, they will extend to you privileges they would never offer to the poor. Thus, the shadow of wealth, properly displayed, may serve you as much as wealth itself. Understand this: fortune favors those who control the narrative of their lives. The miser who hoards in silence may find himself dismissed as insignificant. The showman who spends foolishly may win temporary admiration, but will be abandoned once his coffers run dry. But the man who balances substance with image, who guards his wealth while projecting strength and prosperity, will not only preserve his fortune, but also multiply it through the faith others place in him. In this lies the psychology of lasting wealth. Men follow those they believe to be powerful. Investors entrust their money not to those in need, but to those who appear already victorious. Allies flock to the one who looks unshakable. Even enemies hesitate before a man whose aura suggests that he cannot be easily broken. This is why mastering appearances is not a matter of vanity. It is a matter of survival in the pursuit of enduring riches. Therefore, measure your actions carefully. Let your words carry the weight of authority. Let your clothing and bearing reflect a man who is in command of himself and his fortune. Display strength when you must, humility when it serves you, and silence when it protects you. In this way, you will appear not only wealthy but formidable, a figure too powerful to be ignored, too disciplined to be exploited, and too commanding to be doubted. Among all the habits that shape wealth, none is more neglected, and none more powerful than patience. Not the idle patience of a beggar waiting for alms, but the ruthless patience of a ruler who waits for the right moment to strike. Wealth is not always seized in haste. It is captured by those who understand that time itself is a weapon, a tool sharper than any blade, a force greater than any coin. To master patience is to master the rhythm of fortune. Consider the hunter who rushes too quickly upon his prey. In his eagerness, he startles the animal, and it escapes, leaving him hungry. But the patient hunter, who crouches in silence, hidden and still, strikes at the precise moment when success is certain. Wealth follows the same law. The impatient squander opportunities, grasping at every promise of quick gain, losing much in their haste. The patient, however, observe, prepare, and when the hour is ripe, move with certainty, gaining more than the restless ever dreamed. Many men are destroyed not by poverty itself, but by their inability to endure it temporarily. They seek shortcuts, reckless ventures, or dangerous debts to satisfy their hunger for immediate wealth. Yet, as I have often said, men must be trained to suffer, to discipline their desires, to endure restraint. If you cannot control your need for immediacy, you cannot command fortune. Patience, then, is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the ability to hold your ground when others lose theirs, to wait out storms that ruin lesser men, and to strike when rivals are exhausted. Imagine two merchants facing hardship. One panics, selling his goods at a loss to recover something before all is gone. The other waits, storing his wares, enduring the pain of delay, until the scarcity in the market raises their value tenfold. Who emerges wealthier? Not the one who acted quickly, but the one who bore the weight of patience with a ruthless heart. Patience does not mean inaction. It means controlled action. It means biding your time, storing your strength, and resisting the temptation to move without advantage. The impatient reveal themselves their fears, their weaknesses. The patient reveal nothing. They appear calm while within they measure every shift, every sign, every movement of fortune. And when they strike, it is not by chance but by design. This is why patience, properly used, is more ruthless than aggression. History is filled with princes and rulers who fell because they could not wait. They launched their armies too soon, depleted their coffers too quickly, or exposed their ambitions before the ground was ready. The cunning rulers, those who endured delays, those who suffered whispers of weakness while waiting, they reaped greater rewards. For when their enemies tired themselves in haste, they emerged, rested and prepared, to seize everything at once. Wealth obeys the same law. Let others rush into foolish schemes. Let others burn their resources on illusions of quick success. The patient man will collect the spoils when their folly collapses. Patience is also a mask. To appear unbothered when others expect your reaction is to unsettle them. In negotiations, silence and waiting are more terrifying than threats. The man who cannot be hurried appears powerful, as though he has endless resources. This illusion often compels others to concede more than they planned. If you can master the art of waiting, You force the world to dance to your tempo. The merchants, the lenders, the allies, the rivals, they all grow restless. They make mistakes, and you, steady as stone, take advantage of each misstep. Consider wealth itself. It grows not like fire, but like a tree. If you demand it to grow faster, you destroy it. If you water it, protect it, and wait, its branches spread wide, bearing fruit beyond your imagination. Impatience is the axe that men swing upon their own tree of wealth. Patience is the hand that guards it until its shadow covers generations. But let me be clear, this patience is not gentle. It is ruthless. It is the patience of one who is willing to suffer hunger today to feast tomorrow. It is the patience of one who denies himself comfort in the present to secure dominion in the future. It is not the patience of weakness, but of strength. Weak men wait because they have no choice. Strong men wait because they choose the perfect moment to act. So, when fortune tests you with delays, when gold does not come as quickly as you desire, when opportunities seem out of reach, remember, this is not defeat, but training. Each day of restraint is sharpening your weapon. Each moment of silence is building your legend. Each act of waiting, when done with strategy, brings you closer to wealth that endures. You have now heard the 7 ruthless habits that transform wealth from a fleeting possession into a fortress that endures. Each habit is a weapon, each a shield, each a discipline forged not in comfort but in necessity. The common man seeks ease, but the one who desires dominion over fortune must act with severity toward himself and cunning toward the world. Guard your gold with discipline, for without control, riches rot in careless hands. Embrace risk when it serves you, but do so with calculation, never with desperation. Cut away unnecessary ties, for every chain weakens your stride. Invest in power, not only in coin, for influence multiplies wealth more than interest ever can. Protect your resources with vigilance, for predators circle those who leave their gates unguarded. Shape appearances to command belief, for men follow shadows more than truth. And above all, wield ruthless patience, for time is the greatest ally of those who can endure its tests. Remember this: wealth is not merely counted in coins, but in control over yourself, over others, and over the future. To build wealth that lasts is not the work of a gentle soul. It is the work of a man who dares to be feared, respected, and obeyed in matters of fortune. The world belongs not to the reckless, nor to the weak, but to those who dare to rule their money as a prince rules his state, with cunning, discipline, and cold resolve.